A spike in oil shipments coming from the northern plains is posing a safety risk in Northern California. Trains carrying the crude oil have derailed in Canada, Minnesota, New Jersey, and Mississippi. And the same trains are coming through Contra, Costa County, and soon other parts of the Bay Area.
And joining us now is John Gioia, who is on the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors. He's also active with the state air control quality. You just had a meeting this week to bring us up to speed with the situation. What's going on?
Well, this week there was a meeting in Richmond held basically by the governor's interagency task force on refinery safety. And we heard about how this really can grow and can be a real problem in the Bay Area. And I can talk a little bit about why we are where we are today.
Okay, so why are we where we are today?
Well, in California, basically the refineries have received their oil shipments by marine terminal or by pipeline. And what's happened now is with the explosive increase in production in North Dakota, the Bakken crude, as well as in Texas, this is now coming in by rail.
Right, but there's real questions about we just showed some video there of a train that exploded. I believe it was in Canada because this is highly volatile.
Right.
This is going to be going through your county, Contra Costa County, residential areas, and areas that are already kind of stretched pretty thin as far as emergency response goes. Are we going to get any help with this increase?
So this is an area of major concern for all of us. I hear about it. I live in Richmond, and there are proposals for 2 other crude by rail facilities, one in Pittsburgh and one in Benicia at the Valero refinery. So in fact, the California Energy Commission estimates that the amount of crude by rail used at refineries may go from 1% of total crude to 25% in 2 years. So think about that. Think about the increase in numbers of trains. And the problem is that the rail cars that are out there now are not the safest rail cars for the transportation of this more volatile type of crude. In fact, the federal government has already suggested that there be better rail cars, but think about it. The rail cars used today are not safe enough to really protect against major explosions like what we've seen.
Okay, but if these are the cars we're going to use, and even if the feds change their regulations, which you and I know can take quite a while, playing catch-up is going to take time. Meanwhile, they're going to be rolling through here at rates that you say are astronomical. Where are we as far as safety goes?
So, one, well, local governments, county, air district, cities can tell the federal government you need to really be much more vigilant about safety issues. We know that only goes so far. One thing I've said is that local refineries shouldn't process that type of crude until there are safer rail cars available so our communities are not affected by safety issues. Are they going to do that? No, they're going to continue to process this crude. So the best way to deal with it locally is in the land use permit stage, and even that's limited. So in Pittsburgh, for example, and in Benicia, there's been the environmental impact reports have been held up to look at the broader implications of what all this means. And the Attorney General, Kamala Harris, even stepped in to say we need to look more broadly at this issue. The problem is that the locals don't have much authority over transportation.
No.
That's the problem. But the refineries could step forward and say, we won't process and take in this type of crude until there are safer rail cars. That would solve the problem temporarily, but ultimately communities are concerned. So at the Air District on Wednesday, at the Bay Area Quality Management District, we are going to talk about this issue, and we are going to consider a resolution to ask the federal government to be much more vigilant about safety issues and look else at what we can do to advocate on this issue.
I gotta say, it sounds like there's not a lot you can do, that this is coming and this is going to happen.
The frustrating thing is right now there appears not to be a lot under the law, but I think we're searching politically for ways.
So you're trying to stall and buy time?
Well, I think also the demand to the refineries that, look, if it's not safe transporting them in these older rail cars, which weren't built for this more volatile type of crude, then get oil from marine terminals and pipelines like you've been doing. In fact, 99% today of the oil refined at these refineries comes by marine and pipeline. So let's keep doing that until there are safer rail cars to bring in this more volatile type of crude.
Okay, thank you for joining us.